then say, thanks for inviting me or whatever he says, but you got to always. Here we are live with another episode of Talking Sports with the Legend. Tonight's guest, Tony Bono. Take it away, Legend.
Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I want to tell you, you saved the best Bono for last, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, good. I want my brother to hear that, Steve. So can you say yes once again?
Yes.
All right.
I have to admit, Tony's also my favorite Bono.
But I appreciate that, Steve.
No problem. You didn't get me a city championship, but we had a lot of fun and we went a lot of different places together.
Yeah, we did.
Go ahead, Steve.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, just like you are, Steve, and probably where I grew up was not too far from where you grew up. But I like to say I grew up in Kensington Heights, but also known as a small town a small area called Merritt Square. And Steve, we had some really good soccer players come out of that area.
Yes. And I don't know why they called it a square, Steve. It was a cul-de-sac and it was circle, so it wasn't really a square.
Yeah, it was a square, Steve. Don't listen to that guy in the background.
Where did you go to high school, college?
Okay, so I went to Francis Hopkinson Elementary School, and that was in Juniata. And then I went to the good high school in Philadelphia called Frankfurt. So I didn't go where my brother went to high school. I went to Frankfurt, and then I went to Drexel University. So I played against my brother in high school and then also in college. So Rusty went to LaSalle and I got to play him at Drexel.
When you guys played Frankfurt, you and your brother both went for different teams?
In football, you're talking about?
Yeah, Turkey Bowl.
Turkey Bowl.
Yeah.
So Steve, when we did the Turkey Bowl on Thanksgiving, I was in the Frankfurt section and he was in the North section. And all I say is, we don't want turkey, we want falcon. That's all. That was our little cheer we had. Loved it. Have you ever been to one of the, were you ever at one of those Frankfurt
probably
games?
the last 5 or 6. About the last 5 maybe.
Tell him about the last one.
Oh yeah, the last one. That was nuts.
Who was the kicker? Who was the kicker for North?
Oh my God, John McCarthy, my man.
He was the kicker.
Yeah, and the goalie.
Yeah, but he was the kicker of the football team. They played it at LaSalle University after their football program, I think, was dropped. They had portable goalposts for the football team.
And I think we had to sit on Frankfurt side.
We had to sit on Frankfurt side because everybody knew it was going to be the last North Frankfurt game at that point.
And you didn't listen to me and leave earlier.
I love having him. Everybody hear what I got to go through. He still remembers. It was November of 2000, and it was Thanksgiving of 2009 because that was when Andrew broke his leg. And my son Andrew had it. He wanted to go to the game. He went to the doctor, but wanted to go to the game because it was going to be the last game. And I drove, and he had a full length cast on his leg. So I had to drop him and Steven off at the corner of LaSalle's, stadium, and then they waited for me there when I parked, and I ran up, and then I met some other people there. But by the time we get there, because I left later than he wanted me to, we got there late, and then we had to sit on Frankfurt side because North side was completely filled by like 9 o'clock or something, and the game starts every year. It used to start at 9:30. Yeah. So we get there 9:45, right? So we get there like 9:15, a half hour early, and we had to sit on Frankfurt side. So Frankfurt side was the side when you're looking at the goal where you score the goal at where the cafeteria is, right? Right. You know, the cafeteria, right. So the Frankfurt side was the left side. So North had the whole right side, and then about probably half of the left side, because Frankfurt, there's only maybe like 300 or 400 Frankfurt people. All the rest were North people. And the game was one of the best, if not the best, high school football game I've ever been at. Back and forth the whole game.
The best. In my opinion.
Frankfurt scored the go-ahead points with like 2 minutes to go. They punted. I mean, they kicked off. North got the ball, drove all the way down, and then Eugene Bird was the quarterback.
Running back.
Running back, and then he scored the final touchdown, and then John McCarthy kicked the extra point, and that was it, man. It was one of the best games, like I said, if not the best. But Steven started being John McCarthy's one of his fans back then. So then when he went to the South, Steven started Facebooking him and stuff, and then when he
with the kick.
got hooked up with the
Union.
Union, right? But I thought you were Facebook friends before the Union.
Maybe I was. Who knows?
He's got over 2,000 Facebook friends.
I'm in awe of you, Steve. You got it going on. You need to share some of that with me.
See, he's the legend. That's why he's the legend.
All right. Well, I heard another reason why he's a legend, but that's
the real reason was his buddies. But I say he's a legend because he's a one of a kind.
Yeah, he is.
Did you always dream of being a professional?
You know, Steve, no, I didn't actually. So I played with your father at Lighthouse when we were kids. And we were a good team, and we had a lot of good players on the team. And so no one really, I don't think no one really stood out above the others. We were really, really a good team, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. And I liked a lot of things. So I was a little weird, Steve. I liked gymnastics. So I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to be a gymnast and try and put my effort and energy towards the Olympics, or if I wanted to go and play soccer. So I went and I got to see some of the U.S. Olympic gymnasts at competition. I went and trained for a little bit, and they were crazy, and they were doing things that I could never see myself doing. And I just thought, I'll do that for fun, and I'm going to figure out a way to get a soccer scholarship. So I had increments. I wanted to get a scholarship first, and then once I got a scholarship, then I started to say, well, maybe there's an opportunity for me to play. So yeah, maybe around college is when I thought maybe I have a chance to play professionally.
How many different teams did you play for?
Oh, how much time do you have? So you mean professional teams or? So I started out with the Houston Dynamos, and it was an outdoor team, but there was no league, because when your father and I graduated from high school, there were no professional outdoor leagues. And so there were just exhibition games. So I played for the Houston Dynamos, and we played against the Guadalajara Black Tigers and the U.S. national team. And we played against other indoor professional teams. And one of the teams we played against was a team called the Minnesota Strikers in the Major Indoor Soccer League. And that was a team that drafted me out of college in the beginning of the summer. And then I got to play against them towards the end of the summer. So I had a goal and an assist against them. So I think I did pretty well. And when I went up to training camp, that was a whole nother story. But I played for the Minnesota Strikers, the Chicago Sting, and then the Dayton Dynamo, and then the Cincinnati Silverback, the Chicago Power, the Milwaukee Wave, and then finally the Philadelphia Kicks, the shirt that you're wearing, Steve.
Now, Tony, just to go backwards, 1985 is when you finished at Drexel. You were a senior that year, and then you got drafted. And then how did that happen with the draft? Did they get it? Did they call you? What happened?
Yeah. So in college, I had pretty good career in college. So my senior year, I was a Division I first team All-American, and to this day, the only Division I first team All-American in any sport at Drexel. So that you know, and I'll say in modern era. So years ago there were, but in modern era. So pretty excited about that record still holds. But I then got some recognition, and so teams started to look at me, and that's even how I got the opportunity to go and play in Houston. And so I was drafted just like they do the draft with the NFL and the NBA and the NHL, except it's, you know, I got a call the next day from the coach from the Minnesota Strikers, Alan Merrick, and he said, "We drafted you." I was drafted in the 3rd round. And there were only like maybe 50 to 60 people picked. There were 4 rounds. So I got a call and he said, "Oh, and I hear you're playing in Houston. We're going to be coming down to Houston to play against you guys. So I hope to have an opportunity to talk to you then." So I wasn't on TV. I didn't get a jersey or a hat. You know, nobody interviewed me. It was a quick phone call, and you know, but you know what? That phone call was awesome.
Did you ever play for the U.S. national team?
That's a great question. So the answer is no. Came close, Steve, a few times. There was the under 19 junior national team that I went to the final rounds and got cut. And then I went to the US indoor national team and I trained with them for a while, and they went to Brazil in the afternoon and I got cut in the morning. So I was the last one to get cut. And I chased down the coach in the airport to understand why I got cut, because I played so well and deserved to make the team. But the answer is no. But I will tell you, I did play for the Puerto Rican national team. So
Get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Please tell us that story. Tell us how that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, so Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States. So in order to represent Puerto Rico, all you need is a US passport because they are a commonwealth. So one of the guys that I played with in Houston was Puerto Rican. And he said to me, he said, "We need a midfielder. Are you interested in playing?" So I did what everybody, you know, would do, and went back to my mom and dad. And I had a conversation with them, and dad said, "Are you ever going to play for the US team?" Because at that time, it's not like now where you can go back and forth to play for different teams.
Mhm.
At that time, once you played for the team, that was it. So you couldn't go back. But I knew I wasn't going to get the opportunity to play for the US. So I took the opportunity and got to play Jamaica in qualifying World Cup games. And yeah, so can I tell you a funny story about training?
Please.
So we went to Puerto Rico and we were training right before the Jamaica game. And it was my first time in Puerto Rico. And so the coach was Spanish. And so I'm trying to meet some of the guys, and some of the guys I knew from playing indoor with them. And so Chris Vaccaro, he's from New Jersey. He's a goalkeeper. He played professionally for many years. He was also on the team, but in training, we started to run and warm up, and we're running around the field just warming up, and we're doing different exercises. And the coach said something in Spanish to my friend that brought me there, and I didn't speak Spanish. So my friend looked at me, he said, "The coach said, take off your shirt. He wants you to get used to the heat." And I said, "Okay." So I took my shirt off, and Steve, I'm white as a sheet of paper. And so I didn't even make it around half the field. And the coach said something else to my friend. And I said, "What did he say?" He said, "Put your shirt back on."
Oh man.
I was about to tell you, Steve, Chunky is like he said, the whitest white person you could meet especially in the summertime, we would all, when we were younger, a lot of us would take our shirts off because we looked good back then with no big beer belly and all. So I was fortunate enough to always have what's called olive skin, a little darker than most people. And
Not me.
Chunky's mom's got red hair. So the red hair people are very fair, and Chunky was very fair color skin. So
Oh yeah.
I can't.
Go on.
That is hilarious. That's something I never knew. And I've known this guy for 50 years almost. That's amazing. That's awesome.
I was pretty fortunate to be able to do that. And it was a great experience. Deep down, I wish I could have represented the US. I always wanted to, but it was pretty cool to play in qualifying World Cup game.
Tony and I played against a guy who played on the national team. His name was Troy Snyder, correct?
Yeah.
And he went to Penn State. He was a couple years younger than us. So we played against him one time, and Tony played against him a few times up at Penn State and what have you. But he's the kind of guy that made the team. But I would have taken Tony on any team any day over somebody like that. So a lot of times it's politics that how those kids, especially back then, it's a whole different now. Now they have teams 14, 15, 16, 17. They had them back then, but they weren't as open up as they are now. Now there's kids all over the country get an opportunity, whereas before it was mainly Californians and certain areas, who their coaches knew the guys that were running the USA national team.
Oh, wow.
So Tony was more than good enough to make the team. As he told you, he almost made a couple of the teams, but they, the last cuts type of thing, or, that people used to complain about him, about how small he was or tall he wasn't. And I used to say, well, did you ever watch him play or play with him or play against him? And they would say, why? And I'm like, well, try to get the ball off him. Just because he's small, he was hard to get the ball off. He was lower than the ground. His thighs were bigger than most people's because of his gymnastic days.
Yeah.
All about your gymnastic days at Frankfurt. You did play at Frankfurt. You did do gymnastics at Frankfurt, right?
I was a gymnast at Frankfurt, and then also I dove on the swimming team, and I was all public in that.
Were you really on swimming?
Yeah, just what happened was I wanted to go to Frankfurt because Frankfurt had a gymnastics team, and I wanted to, I was still involved in gymnastics, and I wanted to do that for fun. And Frankfurt had a team, so and my brother's listening, so I have to be nice to him. But me and my brother had a sibling rivalry going on when we were kids because he set the bar and I wanted to top that bar. So it was a good rivalry, but I didn't want to go to North Catholic and be following in his footsteps. I wanted to make it on my own merit. And so that's why I went to Frankfurt as well as the gymnastics team. Well, I got to Frankfurt and they dropped the gymnastics team.
Oh, God.
So the gymnastics coach came to me and said, there's the swimming team, and have you ever dove? It's just like gymnastics, except it's on a diving board. And I went, all right, I'll give it a try. So I made it to the public league championships. I was all public, but I was the only one out of the top 10 that didn't have a coach. So these people were all serious, these divers, and they were good. And I was just like happy to be there. And so it was a lot of fun.
How many years did you do that?
I did that for 2 years, and then Frankfurt brought their gymnastics team back my junior year. So I got to do that junior and senior year. So in the fall, I would play soccer, and then in the winter, I would be on the gymnastics team and the swimming team. So some days I'd have to get up early and go into practice in the morning, and then go to school, and then go to the other, whether it was gymnastics or diving. So, and then Steve, we would be playing soccer for Lighthouse, and I'd have to have practice in the evenings, either at Frankfurt High School indoor or, up at Lighthouse. So we were busy kids then.
He was busier than most of us. But did you make all Catholic in gymnastics? I mean,
No,
all public, excuse me.
no, I was okay at best. And like I said, when I saw the US guys in the competitions and when I went to different competitions, I knew I could never be that good. So it was just a for fun thing. I was serious about it. I was an all around, but I wasn't very good.
He was definitely the best on our team because we used to practice in Frankfurt's gym. So they used to have, remember the mats that would have on the ground and you would do tumbles. So
wrestling.
right, now there was thicker though. They were like thicker mats. McVeigh had them. You might not remember them. So they were thicker mats and they would be like 6 feet long. So our coach was Mr. Mills. I told you about him before. He was born in 1896, I believe. So he was in his 70s or 80s when he was coaching us.
Oh God.
So he was real. He did real fundamentals. So one of the things he used to tell us to do was when we would go around the gym and run, and he had the mat set up. So he said he wanted to teach you how to roll. So when you got tripped, you would learn to roll on your shoulder, so you would not hit your shoulder blade. You would roll over and tuck your head. He was he coached professional people and all. So we would all go rolling, and it was like when we were younger, especially like 9 or 10, we would just like see him like roll around. So Tony, he's doing cartwheels and flips and stuff, and we're like, "What the heck are you doing, man? You trying to make us look bad?" So then as he got older, I used to always ask him, "We get on the pommel horse. Let me see you do the pommel horse." So he would do the pommel horse. That's what he said. He's all around. He was able, and they had the rings. Did you ever see them in the Olympics? They have rings over top of your head. You got to hold on to them, and then you pull them down, and you go into what's called an iron cross like this. Well, look at the gym next time you go. That's one of the hardest things in the world to do. You just put your arms out like this right now and see how long you can keep them up. So that's one of the reasons why he was so fit all the time, because he was constantly doing that kind of stuff, stretching exercises and all for his gymnastics and for the diving. And then, that all translated into soccer. It helped better balance and everything.
It helped me tremendously with my ability or agility and balance. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know it at the time that was going to be so helpful, but it was.
Yes, and a lot of people made fun of him. Oh, he can do, so what? He can do gymnastics. And I'm like, did you ever try? I used to try to do this stuff. I used to love the even parallel bars, they call them for men. But these things are so hard. You have to have upper body strength and lower body strength. So I wanted to get that in there because I know you did it and I know you loved it, because he used to go practice during the week for gymnastics up in Bucks County. You were up there, right?
Yeah, you're right, Steve. Yeah. Right near United German Hungarians.
Right up that road. We go to UGH.
Yeah.
I think I pointed it out to him before.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Drexel, was that always Division I when you were there?
Yeah. So Drexel was Division I, and we were in the East Coast Athletic or East Coast Conference, the ECC. And then we were also in the Soccer 7. So we played against Villanova Textile. It was Textile, which is now what?
Jefferson.
The Jefferson, right. And then St. Joe's, LaSalle. We never had the privilege of playing Spring Garden. But
how about Penn?
Yep,
it was in the Big 7. Yeah,
Penn, Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Drexel, Villanova, and I'm missing one.
Penn, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Villanova.
Textile.
Oh, Textile. Yep, that's the one. Yep. You did mention something, Steve, about
your conference. Who was in your conference? Tell Steven who was in your conference. Delaware, right?
Delaware was, LaSalle was, Temple, American, Lehigh, Lafayette, Rider. So they were our conference.
And all them schools you mentioned were always had really good soccer programs for the men's. What did you guys ever win your conference?
We did. So we won the East Coast Conference my freshman year. So we beat Ryder in overtime in the finals. So that was kind of cool. And then my senior year, we won again, and then we also won the soccer 7.
That's really cool.
Did you ever get a bid to the NCAAs?
We never did. My freshman year, we got a bid to what was called the ECAC, which was kind of like the basketball equivalent to a regional NIT.
Huh.
So, but we never got. That was one thing that I really am bummed about at Drexel, that we never got to the tournament, the big dance, if you will. But it's okay.
Mhm. Did you always play the same position and wear the same number?
Wow. You're really stumping me here, Steve. So did I always play the same position? No. And so I started out as, when we were kids, there was something called a center forward, which is now equivalent to the strikers, right? Your forward. So I played that, and then as I got older, they started to move me back a little bit. So I got to play center midfield when I went to college. And then after the center midfield, when I went to play professional, I was an outside halfback, or when I played indoor, they put me in the back my first 2 years. And then once I went to a different team, I was back in the midfield as a attacking midfielder for indoor. So I got to play a lot of different positions. I was fortunate enough to have my number retired at Drexel. So I had number 9 at Drexel, but our family number was number 3. And I wore that my first year at Drexel. And then I always won at number 9. But playing professionally in Minnesota, I was number 17. And then in all the other places, I was number 25. So.
Oh, hold on. He's got to show you a tattoo then. Because you said the word 17. You can, it's hard to see. It's Kensington United. He played in Pat Marr. He was number 17 because of Pat Marr's from the Kicks. When he played for the Kicks, he was number 17.
Hey, you know what, Patty?
Stevie's talking now.
I was going to say Patty's a good player, and I'm lucky enough now to still play with Pat. We play on a team in New Jersey, and over can I say my age? Over 35. We play on an over 35 team in New Jersey together, and man, can Pat still play. Whoa, he's good.
I played against him one time, a couple of years, probably about 10 years ago now.
Well, you played against him when?
Remember that?
Oh, at Samuels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven got a bunch of people, and they played against Pat and Pat's boys. Like, it was from a Pat's boys against Steven and some of his boys.
No, it's Kensington United
against
Pat.
Against Pat's team. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Kensington United was a team. They played down at the Yuki League in the summer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Steven was on that team for a couple seasons. And quick funny story about this: he knows Dave McKay. So Dave McKay was on the team. Bobby Strom and a bunch of other people. You might know some of them, but those are the two you definitely knew. So Bobby Strom stopped coming to the games because a lot of these guys were like, really crazy about game time and stuff, and he just wanted to have a little fun. So anyway, they go to the playoffs, and I went down to watch all the games. So Steven was on the bench, and it went to penalty kicks. So Steven says, "Let me take one," and they were like, "Nah, Steve, maybe at the end we'll let you go." So Davey McKay goes first, and he goes up, and he freaking misses it. Steven yells out, "I could have done that." I laughed so hard. Dave McKay played with Tony at Frankfurt, and then he played with me at Spring Garden,
Oh, cool.
and then he wound up playing again. I think with us at Danubia or at some point. I think, but he.
Yeah, I played with Davey a few years ago in the over 35
Right,
pro team for a while too. Yeah, it's such a small world that I still play with Bobby Strome, who you were just talking about. He plays on our over 35 team too. So
We got to go to one of them games, man.
Yeah,
When are you starting up in the summer?
they're actually starting up this weekend, Steve. So
Ah, all right. Well, send Steven on
I'll let you
Facebook
know.
the schedule. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do.
I know. Saturday, Liverpool plays at 9.
Right. Well, he said this weekend. He said he didn't say Sunday.
Yeah.
But even if you do play, we can tape the Liverpool game and come home and watch it.
Yeah.
All right, get back to your interview.
Back-
You left off here. You didn't ask him that one. Did he have a?
Oh, did you have a role model?
I have a role model. So that's not a tough question, and it is a tough question. My role model is obviously two people in my life, my mom and dad. And I know everybody gets sappy like that, Steve, right? And they say that, but for me, it's true. My dad was a soccer player, and he was a blue collar guy, and he was just amazing. So I got to really look up to my dad. My mom, I'll say, was one of the first what you call soccer moms.
Yes, she was.
She would take us everywhere, and she had her calendars, and we were doing this, and because I had a brother and sister that also played soccer, and my brother played baseball, my sister played other sports, and so it was tough keeping everybody situated, but mom took care of us all. So they're my role models. Soccer wise, I have a few. I don't know if I guess they're my role models. And your dad spoke about one of them already, Mr. Mills. So we were fortunate enough to play with Mr. Mills, or for Mr. Mills. And he taught us the basics. And that was amazing. We were such a really skilled team. And I can't thank him enough for that, because he was pretty amazing. And then there was a guy named George Montag. I don't know if you ever heard that name.
It can't be my man. Georgie, my boy.
That's he
My
knows.
boy.
He knows his son. He's talking about the father. He's talking about the father.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Georgie was 11 when me and Tony were
Oh, yeah, you did tell me
18.
that.
18,
You
yeah.
did tell me that.
Yeah.
we got to play for Georgie's dad, and Georgie's dad I learned so much from. So they're my role models. My parents, top of the list, but Mr. Mills and George Montag were right up there.
Go back to you. Let me see your question. No, ask him that one. What is his favorite part?
What's your favorite part of being a professional?
Wow. It was really interesting, because I loved being on the field and having people watch us play. That was awesome. But the other good part, or part that I really enjoyed, was I got to be involved in our communities wherever I played. So I got to work with different organizations, different charity events, and I got to meet so many great people. And I even started a not-for-profit while I was out in Ohio. So I mean, that was pretty special to me. I worked with the Special Olympics. I worked with the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and so yeah, that was the best part of it. Going into a bar, going into a restaurant, and maybe getting free drinks or free dinner every once in a while. That didn't hurt either. But for me, it was really working with the community and giving back, because they were supporting us. And that's
That's
how I
great.
was getting paid, because they were showing up at our games.
Great answer, Steve. Without fans, you don't have customers. Without customers, you ain't got a job. So just
Yep.
whether it's professional sports or just your job, you got to be good to the customers. And like Tony said, it made him happy to help out people that were less fortunate than we were. So
I forgot to ask, what was your major in college?
great question.
That is a good question. So I was a business major at an engineering university. So, so Drexel was, and Drexel still is one of the top engineering schools around. Has a great co-op program, but also for the business world now. And now Drexel has really expanded over the years into law and medicine. They also had a great design program, like for the arts. But I was a business major, and I'll tell you what, I chose the right university. I had an opportunity to go to a few others, but Drexel was the one I selected.
So why did you select them? And tell Stephen how many other schools were after you.
You know what? I could lie and say, man, there were tons of schools after me. But that's not the case. You know, I was, and Steve, I don't know if you remember this, but I was the Philadelphia Journal Player of the Year.
Yes, I do remember.
And then, and I hardly got recruited because I was 5'4". So,
If only Messi would have been older than you. If Messi would have been older than you, they wouldn't have questioned you, right?
You're right. You're probably right.
I mean, seriously, I used to tell people, and that's what used to make me laugh. Because he was the smallest guy in our team, he was being very modest, Steve. He definitely stood out above most of us on the team. And I say most of us, there was a couple other guys that he wound up playing with later on. One of our friends went to textile. One of the guys we played with at Lighthouse went to textile. And he was another All-American. Yes, Paul Braden, he was an All-American. So I was fortunate enough to play with a couple of college All-Americans, but we grew up together. And, you know, when you're at 8 years old, you're one kind of player, 9, 10. Well, Tony was one of the best every level we were at.
Oh, wow.
So he started getting recognized when he started getting older, but everybody would still say the same thing. Well, he's still a little too small. And I used to laugh, and I'm like, okay. So I rather, like I said, we played the Keystone State games. We never lost a game in 2 years. We tied a couple, but we never lost a game. And we had a bunch of small guys. I was I'm only 5'9", 5'10". And at that time, I was only 5'7". I grew after I graduated high school.
Andrew
Stackhouse, he's only like 5'7".
Yep.
So I mean, you know, we never held size against anybody. His brother Rusty, he was no giant.
He's just a little bigger than me.
Exactly. So no city schools.
Yeah, so the only ones that wanted me or that recruited me were LaSalle, Drexel, and St. Joe's. Philadelphia Textile said I was too small and they weren't interested. And that's where I really wanted to go. And I think, you know, at the time, right, Steve, Textile was one of the best schools in the country for soccer. So it was something you aspired. If you were a good player, that's where you wanted to go. But yeah, they didn't look at me. And I had a few other colleges outside of our area, but I chose Drexel. I had the opportunity for a full scholarship at all of the 3 city schools. They were all great, but I liked the coaching staff, Johnson Bowie and Rick Percolini at Drexel, and they just made me feel that's where I belonged. And that's why I picked it. Johnson, and I have to mention Johnson Bowie is also someone that I really look up to. He did so much for me and for my career. I don't think if it was without him, I would have probably never been drafted. So, or got the recognition that I got. So.
Did you get to play for Dave McWilliams when the Kicks?
Yeah. So not only did I play for Dave for the Kicks the first year they were there, our inaugural season, but I also played with Dave on the Chicago Sting.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were teammates at one point too.
So
Yeah.
Steve,
Mhm.
but Tony knew Dave before,
long
way before that, because
Mhm.
Dave went to Frankfurt. He was
Ah,
a guy
yeah,
from,
that's right,
yes,
you
he was
told me
from
that.
my neighborhood, but he was the Frankfurt guy, and my buddy Eddie Sheridan
Mhm.
was the North guy. So they both went to textile together,
Mhm.
and they both made it real big in the indoor soccer that Tony was talking about, that they didn't have the outdoor. Now
Yeah.
Davey played what, 1 year I think for the Fury, and then they disbanded.
Yeah, I think that's correct. See,
Yeah, because I know he
Um,
played for we had a Philadelphia Fury team
Mhm.
for like 1,
Oh,
2
just-
seasons.
Just the old team,
The first team was the Adams.
no, the golf team.
The girls team.
Remember the
Yes.
Philadelphia?
The girls team they had they had it for out of Villanova. They played.
Yeah.
He
Oh
can't
my
think of the name.
God.
He's going crazy. We went to see a bunch of them games too.
Freedom? No.
Freedom. Yes, you're right. Philadelphia
Yeah,
Freedom.
really?
Yes.
I hope Solo played for that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Steven drugged me to those games. That's when that's when we started following women's soccer, and then he's been with Holy Family now for 9 years.
Well, not yet.
9. Oh, I'm sorry. Soon.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday is their
will
first
be-
game. They're having a spring
Yes.
season.
Yes.
all right,
Mhm.
that's
I won't
awesome.
be able to go next weekend. I won't be able to go.
Well, why?
It's away.
Oh, okay. Well, the first game you can't go.
No.
Oh, ask him that one. See if he had one. What is your favorite?
What is your favorite song?
To listen to on the bus, like when you were going to games.
You know, I had a lot of different songs, but Taylor Swift is my favorite. No, I'm kidding, Steve.
Thank
See,
God.
I listened to your interviews, Steve.
Mhm.
It was interesting because whenever, depending on the year, the song would be different that I listened to. But don't think any less of me for saying this. There was a song called a Madonna song, I think it was, that Get Up Again over and over. And I that was one of my mantras is, if you get knocked down, you get up and you just do it again and do it again and do it again. So that was something that I listened to early on anyway, when Madonna was cool.
What is your favorite food?
Anything I can put in my mouth. I love to eat, Steve. But I'm pretty simple. I like hamburgers. But I like hamburgers stuffed with like cheese and mushrooms and onions, and yeah, that I'm pretty simple guy, but give me a hamburger. I will go. We go to tournaments and I try to find the best place in that area for hamburgers.
I had McDonald's today for lunch.
Well, I wouldn't say McDonald's is one of my best hamburgers, Steve, but
No, my mom and my sister told me no.
What did you have?
Chicken fingers.
Oh, chicken fingers
Because
instead.
the sugar is too high today.
Yeah, Steven's got to watch his sugar intake. So his
Yeah.
sister's a nurse, for all those who out there didn't know it, and she monitors Steven's his sugar intake as best as possible. Ask him that one there. Did he have
Did you have a pregame ritual routine?
did I have what, Steve?
a pregame ritual or routine?
Yeah, so I like to, now I'm dating myself, but I like to put on my headphones. We didn't have the earbuds like we have today. We didn't have cell phones and all, so we had our little Pac-Man or Walkman, and so I just listened to some songs and just really focus. And some of the guys would play soccer, tennis in the hallways of the stadium, so we would put 2 trash cans and put tape over the top, and just to do some fun things to stay loose and stay stretched and get ready to play. But One of the rituals I did have, though, is I used to write on my shin pad every game. And it always had a special meaning. So whether it was something going on in my life or as an example, when my uncle died, I was very close to my uncle and I put his name on my shin pads for a while. And when my younger cousin passed away, same thing. And it just, whatever was important to me at the time, that's what I would write on my shin pads. And I'd keep my family close to me. So keep my thoughts right there with me. And Mom always said, Mom always said, the other guys put their underwear on and their pants on and their shirt on the same way you do. So don't be scared of anyone you play against. So
that's a great mantra to think of, Steven. No matter how small you are, they say it's not the fighting the dog, it's the dog that's in the fight.
You got it. That's great.
Before you ask him your all-time favorite question, I got a surprise question for him. Wait. I gotta ask him this one first. Did you ever push an old lady into a pool when you were on vacation?
I don't know. Did I?
Yes, he pushed your grandmother, McGarry, in the pool in California, and she had hearing aids. And Tony forgot that my mom had hearing aids, and he threw her in the pool with her hearing aid in her ear. And she never let me forget it. That Tony Bono threw me in the pool. Pushed me in the pool.
Steve, it was an accident, Steve. I think it was Pat O'Donnell that did it.
No. I'll never forget that day. We were all visiting all the adults stayed in a hotel. And we stayed at people's houses, and Tony stayed in a house like a couple minutes from me. Me and a couple of other buddies got dropped off at Tony's people's house, and then the families picked us up to Tony's house and took us to their house. So we hung out together a lot, me, Tony, and the guy Bob Hadoka, who passed away. He was my roommate. And then Tony stayed with Steve Bush and Bobby Kane and Jeff Nicolai, I think, were the other group that we all piled around together, because we were kind of separate. We were all, the 18 kids were, 9 different houses, but we were close to each other. So Tony's guys, he had the best house. He had a house where the guy was a surfer.
He was a surfer, dude.
Yeah, he had, and Tony was like, he's like, you guys want to try it? And he was like, yeah, I'll try it, because he had the best balance on the team. So he did get a chance to try it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
wasn't there for that one. So what's your question, Steve?
How long was your career, professional career?
Oh, that's a great question.
Steve, that is a good question. So 13 seasons. I played indoor and outdoor. I had it kind of backwards. I would play in the summers in Houston, and then I did that for 3 years, and the winters in Minnesota and Chicago. So I had the weathers mixed around, but it was awesome. 13 years. I had, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 surgeries. So I had my jaw operated on twice, my both ankles operated on twice, and one of my knees twice. So thank goodness it was all minor surgery except for my jaw. My jaw busted, so I had to be wired shut. But yeah, 13 years and a lot of miles.
Did you prefer indoor or outdoor?
Oh wow! I loved outdoor, but I was pretty good indoor, so I really liked it. And when there was no outdoor leagues, the only way you could really play professionally at the time was indoor. So I really learned to love indoor, and but now I play outdoor, and I love it, but I'd say indoor is my favorite now. You don't have to run as far.
Yeah, right.
We played.
Here's this guy.
Yeah.
He played goalie for me. You want to listen to me?
That was indoor / outdoor. That was at Sion playground. Stephen loves telling people this story. It was me, Pat Morris, and Danny Morris,
Matt Comey. And a bunch of
couple other people were thrown in there. So one of Steven's Special Olympics buddies is like 6'1", 6'2", and he played goal. So he kept telling Steven he was going to play, So his dad grew up down there, and his dad knew that these guys were going to be hitting the ball hard. So his dad said, I don't think it's a good idea. So he told Steven, no, I can't play. So Steven's like, who are we going to get to play goal? So Tony will tell you, who was our backup goalie for Lighthouse?
You were.
Yes. So I said to Steven, I'll play goal. And then Danny Morris said, if your dad doesn't want to play, I'll play. Because Danny used to play goal sometimes.
Yeah, Danny would play backup for our Danubia team.
Yes, I know. And then so Danny said I said, Danny's in better shape. Let him play on the field and I'll go and goal. So there's like 3 minutes left. And Tony will love this story because he played indoor professionally. And he also was the guy that they would put the jersey on sometimes, like Pat was for the kicks.
The kicks. Yeah.
So Steven's yelling from the sidelines, come on off, Dad. Come on off. I'm going to sub you out for somebody else, for Pat. Or somebody else was going to come in and Pat was going to go in the roving goalie. So I looked at him and I waved him off. I said, get out of here. So I went down, beat 1 or 2 guys, passed it over to Matt Comey. Matt Comey scores the tying goal. And then we went up so we went on tying that game. That was the only game we tied. And then he's yelling at me from the sidelines as I'm running up the field, passing guys. He's yelling at me, "Come on!"
Mikey Smanic's team.
Yes, Mikey Smanic's team. We tied them. That was the only game we tied.
Game was coming kill.
Yes, the game before the game with him. The next game after. We're playing a team down there. I knew nobody on the other team. All strangers, and there was one African American gentleman that played on the team, and he was the only guy in the tournament. 6'3", skinny, and he's got the ball against the fence, and Shemanik's on the other side of the fence. And Shemanik sees Steven coming up, and he said, "Steve, kick him." So what does Steven do? Because Mike Shemanik's his buddy. He kicks the guy in the back of the leg. So the guy turns around and gives him one of these to elbow him in his head, but he completely missed Steven. So I come running out of goal, and I'm like, "Steven, back off." And I said to the guy, "Yo, buddy," he didn't know what he was doing. And he looked and he saw who it was who kicked him, and then he just started laughing. And then I started screaming at Shemanik, and then Steven was promptly taken off the field by me. But he still wound up making the MVP of the tournament.
Yeah, even though we didn't win any games.
Yeah, because he came to all the playoff games and everything, even though his team got knocked out.
Yes.
Wow.
So, that's Steven's small coaching career when he was before Holy Family.
Yep.
So the last question, guy, you don't need it for that. You know what to ask him.
You could have dinner with 3 athletes. They could be dead or alive.
No, they can't be athletes. They got to be soccer players for Tony.
Yeah. They could be dead or alive. Who would they be and why?
So I'm gonna come back to that question in a minute because I wanted to. I'll share something with you too, Steve. I was an MVP once too. So, and Steve, I don't know if you know this story. I was the MVP of the All-Star game, the Professional League All-Star game in 1992.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So the same year, the NBA had Magic Johnson. He was the MVP of the basketball game, got all these awards and, all this stuff. I got a plaque that's about this big and this big. It hangs on my wall right outside of my office here, and it still doesn't have my name on the plaque. They gave me the plaque and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll get your name put on it and we'll get it back to you." And it sat for a little while in the office, and I just took it back, and I'm like, so it hangs on my wall with no name. So, but that's my funny MVP story. I did.
That's
wasn't
hilarious.
even on mine, was it? when I got the MVP?
No, because they gave it because they had it made up beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
So, like Tony's saying, that's what a lot of organizations do.
Yeah,
But when it's
fourth quarter,
professional,
yeah.
you would think they would engrave it and give it back to the
Yeah.
poor guy. He didn't even get it. He didn't get his name engraved. Yours was a charity tournament.
Yeah,
That's a
for
little
fun.
different.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's crazy. But so who would I like to have or dinner with? So I have lost track of one of the guys that I would love to have dinner with, and his name is Ray Hudson. So do you know anything about Ray Hudson?
He's my man. He's my man. I love him. I follow him on Twitter. Ray Hudson's a broadcaster.
Rocky Ray Hudson. He is a broadcaster. I played with him in Minnesota.
No way.
Oh yeah.
Get
Yep.
out of here.
What?
Yep.
So he knows who you are, huh? That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm gonna send him he responded to one of my tweets. He was having a bad time one time and he put something on Twitter. So I sent him a private message and he came back and thanked me. But I love him. I love him. I never knew that. I never knew that.
Steve,
You got to check this guy out. He's one of the funniest guys ever. He played on the team with you?
he played on the Minnesota Strikers indoor. Yeah.
How much older is he than us?
He was probably about, I'd say, 10 years older, maybe
Tag him in this post on Twitter.
Yes, tag him on the post. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Yes, Steven's going to tag him
Mhm.
on the post.
Hey,
That's
Steve,
awesome.
he is a class guy. You are not going to meet anyone more genuine than him. He was just amazing, and I got to learn a lot from him. What they did was they paired me up as a young guy after I made the team.
Mhm.
They paired me up with him and another guy named Bill Irwin. So Bill Irwin was a big goalie, and my parents called him the Gentle Giant. He was just awesome, or he is awesome. He's still with us, and just a great guy. So, but I'd like to have lunch with Ray Hudson again, or dinner, and just be able to pick his brain and see how he's doing, because a lot of years have gone by. He was the coach of the DC United for at least 1 year before he went into, maybe 2 years before he went into broadcasting, and he's a riot with the broadcasting.
He
Who
was
else?
on that channel, Be in Sports. That's why I kind of I stopped seeing him. I come once in a while. He's on the radio. I mean, on some of the games, doing a game or whatever. If I see highlights, but he does a lot of the channels on that games on that channel, and we don't have that channel anymore.
Yeah. Who else would
Was
I?
you on a team with Sean Boney? Was that Pat?
You didn't play with Sean Boney, did you?
I didn't play with Sean, Steve. He was after me. I was only with the Kicks for 1 year, and then I was actually offered the assistant coaching job this next year to work with Davey McWilliams.
Mhm.
And I just decided my body had enough, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to do the day-to-day. Man, was I wrong. I should have done that and continued to do that, because getting into the real world and having to wear dress clothes and go to an office, and I didn't realize how good I had it when I was playing soccer.
I think it.
Whoa, he's got to finish. He's got to give us the rest of his guys. He's going
I gotta give you the rest.
Yeah, come on. Ray Hudson.
Good
Ray
too.
Hudson,
Ray Hudson, that's all.
Remember he said about the Gentle Giant, the goal?
No, he was just talking about him.
I was just talking about Billy, but he'd be a nice one to catch up with again. But of course, everybody would want to have lunch with, or I'd say Julie Ernst.
Mm.
So just because I know she's one of your favorites.
Oh, my show, man.
No, you're not going to say Carly Lloyd, are you?
No, he's going to show you his picture.
You see it? My homie.
That's his. He had his picture taken
My
with her
homie.
4 years ago over in Delran at her
Yes.
at her training facility.
Yes, it's my homie.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard you you were interested in meeting her a few years ago, and I'm glad you got the opportunity. Isn't it cool when you get to meet someone you really look up to? And I think that's awesome. But I'll give you one more, and it's like everybody, I think, just Pele, because Pele was such an influence in the game here in the United States, and just an amazing imprint he left on our soccer community and our soccer world. And he's still, I don't care what you say. There's a lot of quote unquote goats with Messi and Ronaldo and Maradona, but sorry, it's got to be Pele.
Pele is all the old school guys. That's what
I
he
remember,
said.
I almost killed Carly Lloyd.
Yeah, he tackled her. He jumped in her arms and
Yeah.
almost literally knocked her over.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said that would have been a good thing on TV. That a young man almost injures ruins Carly Lloyd's career. Did you ever get a chance to meet her?
No, I never met Carly Lloyd. So what happened, Steve, is when I was playing professionally, I got to meet a lot of other athletes in the cities where I was. So as an example, the first year with Minnesota, I got to meet Fran Tarkington, right? The quarterback. I don't know if you remember him.
I do.
Because there was a guy from Norristown, Steve Bono, that was drafted, and he played in Minnesota the same year I did.
So, get out! That's funny. I remember him well.
Yeah, he came to some of our games. So
Tony, sorry, Steven's got to wrap it up. He has to go to the men's room. It looks like.
You know what?
Drinking his drink.
Hey, keep drinking that water, and thank you so much. I'm just beyond happy that you asked me to do this for you. So
no problem, man.
Thank you. And I hope to see you soon. Come watch us play.
Absolutely. So we're going to sign off, everybody. Tony, stay on there. We're going to sign off, everybody. Steve, when do you hit the recording? Got it?
Yeah, I think, let's see. We should just end it, but I don't know.
End it. All right.
I don't know if it will.
It will. End meeting for